Okay, welcome back to educator.com. For the next lesson, we're going to continue proportions. We're going to actually write proportions and then solve them. Okay, so when we write proportions, it's easier if you first create a ratio that you can base your proportion on. So I like to call it a word ratio because you're going to look at what you have and then create a word ratio, meaning a part to a part. So you're gonna find out what you're gonna leave on the top and what you're going to put on the bottom of your ratio. So here I have my example, 2 miles in 20 minutes. And I want to find out how many miles it'll be in 30 minutes. So I want to create my word ratio. For example, I can put miles over minutes. That means all the numbers that have to do with miles is going to go on the top, and all the numbers that have to do with minutes is going to go on the bottom. Because when we write a ratio, proportion, remember a proportion has to be two ratios that equal each other. So the first ratio I'm going to write is going to have to do with this part right here. 2 miles in 20 minutes. Well, I'm comparing, remember ratio, I'm comparing two things. I'm comparing the miles and I'm comparing the number of minutes. So all the miles is going to go on the top. That means I'm going to write 2 miles, MI for miles, over and 20 minutes because that's on the bottom. 2 miles in 20 minutes. Then I have to create my next ratio. Okay, and remember I'm making a proportion. I'm making this ratio equal to this ratio. So that way I have a proportion I can solve for whatever's missing, my x, my variable. So again, this is going to go on the miles is going to go on the top, right? Because that's what I set. That's my word ratio. So then it's going to be x miles over, and then 30 minutes. That's minutes, so that's going to go on the bottom. Okay? So as long as I keep all the miles on the top and all the minutes on the bottom, I can create my proportion. Now let's say I created my word ratio so that it was minutes over miles. That's okay. As long as you keep all the minutes on the top and all the miles on the bottom, you're still going to get the same answer. Okay, you're still going to get the correct answer. Okay, so then again, this ratio is equal to this ratio, and that's how I get my proportion. And that's how I'm going to write my proportion. Then from here, I need to solve this out, right? So I can cross multiply. If I can solve it in my head, then I want to do that instead, so I don't have to do all the work. So 2 over 20 is going to equal x over 30. So I just rewrote the proportion without all of the units so you can see it a little bit easier. Well, here I can create an equivalent ratio. Remember equivalent ratios from the previous lesson. 2 over 20 is the same thing as 1 over, okay, because here I divided this by 2, right? 2 divided by 2 is 1. So if I want to do 20 divided by 2, then it's going to equal 10. So then I can also do the same thing here. I want to make this ratio the same as 1 over 10. So I can multiply this by 3 to get 30. Then I have to multiply this top by 3, right? To get 3. So my x is going to be 3. Okay, so here I just use mental math to solve for x. Okay, I just made this equivalent ratio 1 over 10 and then turn this into the same thing 1 over 10. If you want, you can use cross products instead. So that's another method. So you're going to multiply this together, make it equal to this. So 2 times 30, actually let's go this way first. Doesn't matter which way you go first. 20 times x is 20x equal to 2 times 30 is 60. If I double 30, it's 60, right? Well, 20 times what equals 60? 20 times 3 equals 60, right? 20, 40, 60, that's 3. So x will become 3. So that's the same thing. Doesn't matter which way you solve. Okay? As long as you make it so that this ratio is equal to this ratio. Okay, so let's do a couple or a few examples. We're going to write a proportion and then solve them out. So 5 pounds for $15. Find the cost for 4 pounds. So I want to first find create a word ratio. A word ratio. So I have, what am I comparing or what am I using? I'm using pounds and I'm using money, right? So I can say money or dollars on the top, and then I'm going to keep the pounds on the bottom. Doesn't matter if you do pounds over money, that's fine too, okay? So here's my word ratio. That means when I create my proportion, I'm going to keep all the dollars on the top and then all the pounds, number of pounds, on the bottom. So 5 pounds for $15. Here's my first ratio, comparing these two things. $15, that's the dollars, that's going to go on the top. 15 over 5 pounds. So that's going to go on the bottom, because that's what I made my word ratio. And then find the cost for 4 pounds. Well, 4 pounds, does the 4 go on the top or the bottom? It's pounds. It's going to go on the bottom. And then I want to find the cost. That's what I'm looking for, so that I'm going to make that my variable. So I can say x. And then that is the money part, right? Find the cost. Cost is money. So that's going to go on the top. So here I'm going to solve for x. Now again, you can solve this two ways. You can find the equivalent ratio. So I'm going to simplify this. This is going to become, divide this by 5, right? So 15 divided by 5 is going to be 3. 5 divided by 5 is going to be 1. So there is my equivalent fraction. And then same thing here. I want to make this the same as 3 over 1. So 1, how did I go from 1 to 4? This was multiplied by 4. Or I can just do 4 divided by 4 is 1. Same thing here. 3 times, whatever I do to bottom, I have to do to the top. So x becomes 12. Or again, you can just do cross multiplying. So you can do 15 times 4 equal to 5 times x. And then you can see what you have to multiply by 5 to get this number. Okay, so then this is, my x is going to be 12, because 12 over 4 is going to be 3 over 1, and that's the same thing as 15 over 5. So I have to look back and see, okay, well, what am I looking for? Now, I know that x is 12, but it's asking for the cost, right? Now, we know cost is money, so then how much is it going to cost for 4 pounds? $12. Okay, the next one. 15 feet for every 4 minutes. Find how many feet in 10 minutes. So my word ratio, I'm going to make it feet over minutes. So then my 16 feet is going to go on the top, and my 4 minutes is going to go on the bottom. Equal it to how many feet? Find how many feet. That's what we're looking for. So feet, that's the top number, right? That's x. And then over the number of minutes is 10. Okay, so again, you can look for equivalent fraction. This is going to be the same. 16 over 4 is going to be the same as, well, if you divide this by 4, divide this by 4, you're going to get 4 over 1. So I'm going to use that fraction to help me solve for x. Okay, so 1 times 10 was 10, so it's 4 times 10 is 40. So that means x has to be 40. Okay, so again, these two have to be equal. This is the same as 4 over 1. So that means this has to be the same as 4 over 1. Okay? So 1 times 10 is 10. So 4 times 10 has to be 40. And then how many feet? So then x is going to be 40 feet. Example 2, write a proportion and solve. 5 chocolate bars cost $7.50. Find the cost of 2 chocolate bars. So my word ratio, chocolate bars, and then you can do money on the bottom, or you can just do money on the top and the number of chocolate bars on the bottom. Doesn't matter. Okay, there's my word ratio. So chocolate bars, 5 chocolate bars, 5 on top, over money, $7.50 on the bottom, equal to chocolate bars, that's 2 on the top, over number of money on the amount of money on the bottom. Okay, so for this one, I can solve this proportionally. You can also use this as a ratio. So then this can be, remember, $7.50 for 5 chocolate bars. You can make that as a ratio and then find the unit rate, right? So find how much it costs per chocolate bar. So if you remember from a couple of lessons ago, you can use unit rate also for the same problem. Okay, so let's just go ahead and solve this using cross products. So I'm going to multiply this, and that's going to be 5x. And again, if you're multiplying number times variable, then you can just put it together like that, equals 750 times 2. Okay, 750 times 2. So if you want, you can just multiply it out like that. 0, 5 times 2 is 10. 2 times 7 is 14. Add the 1, 15. Okay. You can also, you know that this is 750, that's money. 7 times 2 is 14. And then if you have 50 cents and you double it, that's $1, right? So then you could think of it that way too. So 5x equals $15. Okay, I'm not going to put the 0.00 because that's just change. So then this is my whole number, $15. I can now find x, right? So 5 times, I know 3 equals 15. So x is going to be 3. That means if for 5 chocolate bars it costs $7.50, for 2 chocolate bars it's going to cost me $3. So I need to write my $sign here to give me the answer. Okay, the next one, Sharon types 60 words per minute. Find how long it will take for her to type 80 words. So my word ratio can be words over minute. So 60 words per minute. So that's over 1, right? Because the number of minutes is 1. And then how long will it take? So they're asking for they're asking how long it'll take, they're asking for words or minutes? They're asking for minutes, right? How long? So this will be X down here. And then they're asking for 80 words. Okay, so again, you can use proportions. You can use cross products. So 60 times X is 60X equal to 1 times 80 is 80. Now remember, if you want to find what 60 times X is and what X is, then you can divide the 60. So anytime you have a 60, you have a number times a variable, you can just divide that number to find X. So X is going to equal, I'm going to cross out these zeros. So then I'm going to have 8 over 6. But then here I can simplify that, right? So divide this by 2, divide this by 2. It's going to be 4 over 3. 4 over 3. If I want to change this to a mixed number, this will be 3 goes into 4, 1 whole times. How many do I have left over? 1. My denominator is 3. So it'll be 1 1/3 of a minute. Okay. Now, if you have a problem like this on your homework or at school, then you can, it depends on how your teacher wants it, but you can change this to a decimal, or since it's minutes, you can take this fraction, it's 1 whole minute, and then some seconds, right? 1/3 is part of a minute, so you can just figure out how many seconds that would be by doing 60 divided by 3. Okay, so 60 divided by 3, that's going to give you 20. That means this is going to be 1 minute and 20 seconds. Or you can just say, you can just leave it like this if your teacher doesn't mind. Okay, so then it's 1 1/3 of a minute. The third example, Susanna estimates that it will take 4 hours to drive 600 kilometers. After 3 hours, she has driven 500 kilometers. Write a proportion to see if she is on schedule. So basically they're asking if you make a ratio of this and you make a ratio of the next part, are they the same? That's all it's asking. Okay? So my word ratio, hours over kilometers. So it's going to be 4 hours over 600 kilometers. And we're going to see if this equals the same as 3 hours over 500 kilometers. Okay? So let's see here. Let's simplify these. Here, I can say that if I simplify this, 4 goes into 600 how many times? Here's 1, 4, 2. Okay, so I'm just dividing it. That's 5. 20. Bring down this 0. 150. So if I divide this by 4, and I divide this by 4, then I'm going to get 1 over 150. That means every hour, Susanna should drive 150 kilometers, right? If 4 hours, she estimates she's going to be driving 600 kilometers. That means every 1 hour, she's going to be driving 150 kilometers. Well, is that the same thing as this? So 1 hour 150 kilometers. Does she get this in 3 hours? So this is 1 times 3 equals 3 hours, right? 1 hour times 3 is 3 hours. So does that mean 150 times 3 is 500? Right? So let's see. This times 3. 0. 5 times 3 is 15. Add that. So that'll be 450. So no, if she drives 150 kilometers for every 1 hour, then in 3 hours she should be driving 450 kilometers, but she drove 500 kilometers. That means she is not really on schedule. I mean, she is a little bit faster, right? But according to what she's estimated, it's not the same. So this one is, no, she is not on schedule. She is actually a little bit early because she drove more than what she thought she would be at. Okay? So it's supposed to be, so this is not the same ratio. So if it's 4 hours, okay, for 600 kilometers, then in 3 hours, she should be driving 450 kilometers. Because 1 hour is 150 kilometers. So this needs to have the same ratio also, right? 1 hour is 150. This has to equal this too. Okay, so then this one is no. She is early. Okay, so that's it for this lesson. Thank you for watching educator.com.